Hello and welcome to Cup of Cosmology, the place for all your questions about the universe. My name is Diana Hooper and I'm a theoretical physicist currently doing a postdoc over at the Helsinki Institute of Physics in the University of Helsinki in Helsinki, Finland. And I'm a cosmologist, so that means that I study the universe, the contents of the universe, how things evolve, how things interact, all of the cool stuff happening inside the universe. It's a great topic. I love being a cosmologist and I love chatting to people about all of the cool things that happen inside the universe. I don't get to work on everything, but I do get to work on some very, very cool topics, and I love chatting about them. So I see there's already a lot of the regulars tuning in the comments. Let me just say hello to everybody here. Let's see who we have. We have Ange, we have Ben, we have Paul, we have Mito, David Howden, Scott. Great to see all of the regulars tuning in. To anyone who's a first-time viewer, welcome. If you haven't done so already, please do click the subscribe button, leave a comment, like the video, do all of the usual things to boost engagement. It really, really does help. So please do all of the usual stuff. For anyone who doesn't know Cup of Cosmology or me, this is an interactive stream. The idea here is that you people can ask me anything you want about anything in cosmology, physics, space, astro, academia, life in Finland, how we navigate the icy hellscape that is the outdoor world right now. Basically, you can ask me anything you want, and I will do my best to try to answer. Obviously, if I don't know the answer, I will tell you. But this is an interactive stream, so you all decide where this conversation goes. If you have questions, if you have comments, we will try to navigate the conversation around all of your questions and comments. I see a bunch of people just saying hello and good evening. Great to have you all here. Scott, I know you missed last week. No worries. Great to see everybody coming back. David Howden here saying you missed the last few weeks because you were birding in the Gambia. That sounds amazing. I hope you saw a lot of cool birds. I've recently started paying more attention to the birds around me. It's very cool. I still have no idea how to identify birds, but it's very cool to just pay attention to the birds around. What do I mean, you people? It's my standard greeting because it's gender neutral and inclusive and kind of includes everybody. I believe everybody watching is a people or a person. So you people is like my all-inclusive hello everybody comment because it's gender neutral, it's inclusive, and I assume that everybody watching is people. If I have dogs and cats watching, that makes me very happy as well, but I don't think they're going to understand me, so I don't really need to specifically say that they can ask questions. Although if your dog or cat can ask me a question, that would be pretty cool too. Okay, I see my new slide deck has finally loaded. So the reason I'm a few minutes late today is because I was trying to upload my new slide deck. I'm not sure if those of you watching might know by now. I can't actually share individual images on Restream. What I can do is share a PDF. So I have a PDF with like 50 slides on the different images. And some weeks I update it if I have things that are relevant to what I want to discuss that week. But because they're like very high quality images, I hope they transmit as high quality images as well. The PDF that I was just uploading to Restream was 60 megabytes. And it took about 20 minutes for Restream to actually upload that. So I just used my old slide deck for the intro while I was waiting for the other one to upload, but it seems like it's uploaded. So that's great because there's two things I want to talk about today. Obviously, this is going to be open to any topic, any conversation, any discussion, anywhere we want to take this conversation. So you're welcome to ask me anything, go off topic, stay on topic, whatever you want. But I do have two things I want to talk about today. And just a comment, I see a lot of people watching from YouTube. This should also be going out to Twitch. So to anybody watching on Twitch, hello, welcome. Great to have you on Twitch as well. I am very much still new to the whole Twitch thing. So the stream is there, but there's none of the engagement things happening on Twitch. But if you're watching on Twitch, I'm seeing your comments as well as the people on YouTube. I can see all of the comments coming in. If at some point we have a lot of people on both platforms, I will shift to put the comments on the screen so that you can all see what everyone is discussing. But right now, most of the comments do seem to be localized on YouTube. So for now, I'll leave the chat box off to the right. I see it like over there on my screen. The view that I have is very different to the view that you have of the screen. There's a lot of pop-ups and stuff happening here, which is always like, oh, too many things to play with, too many things to focus on. So two big things I want to mention today. One of them is positive news. One is less positive news, but we can still reflect on the fact that it has been a very positive mission. So I want to talk about two space missions today, two missions in particular. And what is the BTFR? BTFR, I have no idea. What is the BTFR? I don't know what that acronym stands for. BTFR. No idea. That acronym does not sound familiar to me. So I have no idea what the BTFR is. If you want to spell that out, tell me what that acronym means. I can perhaps answer what the actual thing means, but right now that acronym is not ringing any bells in my brain. Okay, so first I have to do the big announcement. There is a gravitational wave mission, and I'm going to explain gravitational waves and all about it, but there is a gravitational wave mission called LISA, the Laser Interferometer Space Antenna. Almost forgot my acronym there. LISA is a gravitational wave mission that has been in the planning phase for over 20 years now. And you might all have heard by now of LIGO, Virgo, CAGRA. These are ground-based gravitational wave observatories doing a lot of cool observations here on Earth. But there is this dream, this idea of sending a mission to space to measure gravitational waves. The concept that we have, the mission that we have planned for this is LISA, Laser Interferometer Space Antenna, and it will be a constellation of like 3 satellites forming a triangle, chasing the Earth as it orbits around the sun, looking for gravitational waves, so ripples in the fabric of space-time. This has been in the planning phase for 20 years. And just to give you an idea, this is what the mission would look like. The lasers are added on for effect. So the idea here is you would have 3 missions, 3 satellites, 2.5 million kilometers apart, sending lasers back and forth, looking for any ripple in the fabric of the cosmos. The big news is that as of Thursday this week, LISA has officially been approved. LISA has been adopted is the official terminology. What does this mean? This means that it is going to go ahead. The mission now has the go-ahead. So we can actually start building. I'm not involved in the building, but we can actually start the building of this satellite. This is amazing news. So this is a mission that has been 25 years in the making, and now it's moved on to phase B2. It's the official designation. What this means is that the European Space Agency has said, yes, this mission is in our agenda. We're going to budget for it. We're going to make it happen. It is going to be built. This is amazing. LISA is scheduled to launch in 2035. It probably won't launch in 2035 because there are bound to be delays and setbacks and issues. But LISA, Laser Interferometer Space Antenna, is going to happen. It is no longer just an idea. It is actually going to launch. The reason why I'm so excited about this is because I spent the last 2.5 years working on the assumption that someday we're going to have data from LISA. Now, a lot of what I've been doing the last couple of years is saying, okay, once we get LISA, what can we measure with it? And of course, all of that relies on us getting LISA. And also a lot of what I've been writing in my grant proposals is when we get LISA data, here's what I'm going to do with it, which again kind of relies on this mission actually flying, and it is going to. So that is very, very cool. The European Space Agency has officially adopted the mission. It is going ahead. Okay, so let's just recap here. Okay, so BTFR stands for baryonic-Tully-Fisher relation. Thank you for clarifying that. Short answer, I have no idea, but I'll make a note of that and come back to that later on. Okay, so let's just recap a few things here. First of all, what are gravitational waves? So glad you asked that. Gravitational waves are ripples in the fabric of space-time. If you think of, if you go into a swimming pool, into the sea, or in any water, and you splash about, you are going to create ripples. These ripples move out away from you. You radiate these ripples. You can do something similar in space-time. If you imagine there is a fabric of space-time in which we are all embedded, we all exist within this fabric, anything that is accelerating through the fabric of space-time will produce these cosmic ripples. If a gravitational wave goes through you, first it will distort space and time. So first it will make you shorter and fatter, and then it will make you thinner and taller. So it has this kind of effect where first it stretches one direction and then stretches another. So you can imagine it doing something like this. However, this effect would be extremely small. If a gravitational wave goes through me, it will make me grow by like 1/1000th the width of a human hair. So it is not really a big difference. But gravitational waves were predicted by Einstein's general relativity back in 1917-ish, plus minus a few years. 1916, sorry. So gravitational waves are a prediction of general relativity. They're something that we expect to be there. We expect them to happen. And we have measured gravitational waves. We have measured gravitational waves coming from black holes smashing together. We have measured gravitational waves coming from neutron stars smashing together. This is what we've done with the ground-based detectors LIGO and Virgo and Kagra. So what can produce gravitational waves? Well, black holes smashing together, neutron stars smashing together, supernova, which are stars reaching the end of their lifetime and exploding, supermassive black holes smashing together, which are ridiculously big, massive black holes. Also, if you have a small object being thrown into a supermassive black hole, you will get gravitational waves. But you can also produce gravitational waves in the very, 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 very early universe. We think in the very early universe, there were some dramatic things happening. For an example, inflation. Inflation is this hypothetical period of exponential expansion in the early universe. If I go to my usual cosmic history map here, you can see in the early universe, there is this like exponential growth that we call inflation. This is a process that would have been so dramatic that it would have left behind an essence. It would have left behind a fingerprint in the form of ripples in the background of the universe. Then there's also other cool things in the very early universe, like phase transitions. If you think about boiling water, you get bubbles. The water goes from a liquid state to a gas state. This is a phase transition. In the early universe, we could have done something similar, but in kind of the other direction, where as the universe cools down, the universe transitions from being in one phase to being in a different phase. This is hypothetical. But if this happened, this would have left behind a background of gravitational waves. And that is very, very, very cool, because the earliest we can look back in the universe is the cosmic microwave background radiation. Anything earlier than that, anything earlier than 380,000 years after the end of inflation is very, very difficult for us to see. But just imagine if we could get these gravitational waves coming from stuff that happened a few seconds or a fraction of a second after the end of inflation. It will give us a whole new snapshot in the universe. So let me just show you the type of things. I'm going to show you the type of things that we're hoping to do with LISA. So things that can produce gravitational waves, objects smashing together, supernova, stuff falling into massive black holes, and the universe itself. So some of these we have been able to measure already with LIGO, Virgo, Kagra, ground-based observatories. So I just want to show you what type of things we can measure with different observatories, because I see there's a comment here that you hope that means LIGO won't be shut down. LIGO and LISA are not competing. They are complementary. They look at different things. So it's not that this is one is superseding the other. It's LIGO proves that we can do this on the ground. Now LISA is going to take us to space to do the same, but looking at different things. So just going to look at the one other comment here. From Paul, I'm always impressed and mind blown by how precise these instruments like LISA have to be over such large distances and small effects. Yeah. If you think about what I was just saying, that if one of these gravitational waves, let's imagine two black holes smashed together somewhere in the universe, a couple billion light years away. This produces a ridiculous amount of gravitational waves. In fact, like you can imagine if you have two black holes that are about 30 solar masses each, so 30 times the mass of the sun, these smash together, they will release about 3 times the mass of the sun in energy in gravitational waves. So they're releasing a huge amount of energy in the form of gravitational waves. But by the time this gravitational wave reaches me here on Earth, I will only grow by 1/1000th the width of a human hair. This is an insignificantly small amount. And then there's a question of how do we even measure something that is so ridiculously small and insignificant? And the answer is with lasers. And so what you do is you use the fact that the speed of light is always constant. So then you can send you get a laser beam, you split it, you send it down 2 arms of a detector. Once this laser beam reaches the end, it hits a mirror. It bounces back. When it comes back together, there's going to be destructive interference because you make them come back slightly out of sync. So the 2 laser beams are basically going to cancel out and you won't have light. However, if during this journey something disrupts the length or makes one of these arms grow, the other shrink, even by a fraction of a millimeter, you would be able to, when the light comes back, it would no longer be in sync. And then you will measure the gravitational waves using the lasers, which is kind of cool when you think about it. The ones that we have on Earth, LIGO, these arms are about 4 kilometers, and you send the laser beam back and forth a couple hundreds of times to kind of increase the distance. And eventually when they come back, you're able to measure gravitational waves. But as Paul was just saying here in the comments, this requires incredible precision because you need the mirrors to be perfectly precise. You need the measurements to be perfectly precise. There can be nothing getting in the way of this measurement, no distortion, no noise, nothing. It has to be an incredibly precise measurement. So that's really, really cool that we're actually able to do that. Okay, so let's look at what LIGO, LISA are looking at respectively. So, hey, James, great to see you. So what you can see here is a gravitational wave spectrum. So at the top, we're showing the sources to what can produce the gravitational waves. At the bottom, we're showing the different possible detectors of gravitational waves. And in the middle, you can see the frequency. And just to make the analogy, there's a light spectrum put on top so that you can see how gravitational waves compare to the light spectrum. Okay, so different sources. You can see at the top, we have quantum fluctuations. These are the things I just mentioned that could happen in the really, really, really early universe. Then we have these supermassive black holes smashing together. Then you have these things called compact binaries. These are normal black holes smashing together. Rotating neutron stars, supernova. And you can see here that on the right-hand side, we have terrestrial interferometers. This is like LIGO-like things. This is what we already have. Then we have space-type interferometers. This is the LISA-type things that you can see are also here. Then we have things like the CMB and pulsar timing array. Ideally, we can use all 4 of these probes together to measure different things. LISA is the one that's going to go to space, and you can see that LISA is hoping to measure quantum fluctuations from the early universe, binary supermassive black holes, compact black holes smashing together, and it's just going to measure so many things. But the thing that I'm especially interested in is the quantum fluctuations from the very, very, very early universe. And these are, so the idea of LISA is it's going to be 3 spacecrafts. These 3 spacecrafts are going to be chasing around the Earth. So they're going to be kind of in a very quiet place with not much interference, not many things getting in the way. And the reason you have 3 spacecraft is because then you can basically have 6 interferometers, 6 versions of LIGO. So if you imagine each of these spacecraft is going to send a beam in each direction and receive a beam from each direction. So you basically get 6 configurations here. This one sending to that one, this one sending to that one, and vice versa. So you basically get 6 versions of LIGO for free, well, not for free, but you get 6 versions by doing this configuration of 3. Some people have asked me before if adding a 4th one in would make any sense. It wouldn't, because then you don't get as good trajectory between each one. So the idea of LISA is it's going to be these 3 spacecrafts chasing the Earth, looking for gravitational waves from supermassive black holes smashing together, black hole binaries, basically a lot of cool stuff happening in the universe. It's amazing, and LISA has now been approved. So LISA is officially adopted. It's been 25 years in the making, trying to figure out how we're going to do this, how we're going to build it, how is everything going to fit together. And now it's at the stage where ESA, the European Space Agency, has said, yes, we are willing to build this. We are willing to make this happen. We are committing to putting in the budget to make this happen. It's going to take about 10 years to build it, get it ready to launch, at least 10 years. And then there's going to be another few years of taking data. So it's still going to be about 15 years before we actually start getting the data from LISA. It's still going to be a while before we get the data to play with. But LISA has now officially been adopted, which means it's going to happen. We are going to send 3 little spacecrafts to space. They're going to send lasers back and forth in order to find the fingerprint, the afterglow of the first fraction of a second of the universe. That is absolutely incredible. It's amazing that humans are like, we're going to do this. This is how we're going to measure gravitational waves. And hey, guess what? It works. We know that it's going to work because there was a trial mission a few years ago called ELISA. And the purpose of ELISA was to prove that this type of mission can work, that we have the sensitivity. So ELISA was just one spacecraft that went up and had a kind of a mass inside. And it was proving that you could keep this stable enough that you would be able to actually do these measurements. You would be able to see these laser measurements. So ELISA gave us the proof that this is a good idea, that we have the technology to do this. It's taken a while, but now ESA has approved it. So LISA is set to launch. It's been adopted. It's going to happen, which is amazing. I see we have Emma in the comments. Hey, Emma, great to see you. Hopefully Luna is watching as well. There's a friend of mine in the comments who has an amazing cat who likes screaming, the cat. And I love the screaming cat. So hopefully Luna is screaming happily while watching the stream. Okay, let me answer some of the questions here. Let's focus on the questions about gravitational waves. Okay, comment from Scott. You always say nothing travels faster than light through a vacuum. True. Do gravitational waves slow down when they pass through matter? It's space-time itself, so it shouldn't. Gravitational waves do not slow down when they pass through matter. Gravitational waves are ripples. It's more like matter passing through gravitational waves and gravitational waves passing through matter. Gravitational waves travel at the speed of light. This is something we have been able to test. This was a prediction of Einstein's general relativity, and it is something we have now been able to confirm. gravitational waves do seem to travel at the speed of light, which is pretty cool. They do not slow down when they travel through matter. You can think, though, that an object with mass is going to distort space-time, so as a gravitational wave travels through, it is going to feel this gravitational effect as well. But so it's not really going to slow down, it's just going to take a longer path to get to where it was going because of the gravitational effect. But yes, nothing can travel faster than light in a vacuum. Okay, let's go through more comments. Let me just check that I got all of the comments apart from the baryonic Tully-Fisher one, which is written down. We did gravitational waves there from Paul. Okay, let's see. Is there any similarity between detecting neutrinos and gravitational waves? That is a very nice question. I think the similarity is that they're both really difficult to do. So neutrinos I talked about last week. I'm not going to go too in depth about it. So neutrinos are these tiny, tiny, tiny particles that travel almost at the speed of light, but not quite. And they have a very, very small mass. But neutrinos don't really interact with normal matter. They only interact via the weak force. 4 forces in the universe: strong force holds things together, weak force, radioactive decay, gravity, stuff falls down, stuff stays in orbit, gravitational waves, electromagnetic force, electricity, magnetism. If I hold up my thumb every second, 60 billion neutrinos will zip through my thumb. I will not notice them because these neutrinos do not interact with me meaningfully in any way that we would actually be able to measure. This means that measuring neutrinos is ridiculously difficult because they're extremely small, they're very quick, and they barely interact. That said, we have figured out some ways to measure neutrinos. Gravitational waves, we're looking for tiny, tiny, tiny distances. So not an actual particle, just tiny changes in a distance over a certain amount of time. So they're similar in the fact that they're both extremely difficult to measure, but that is where the similarity ends. The technology involved is very different. The approach to measuring them is very different. So they are similar in the fact that they're both very difficult to do, but that is where the similarity ends. But that is a very fun question. Okay, let's see more questions. 4 kilometers is about 2.5 miles. Yet for those few of you using freedom units, the rest of the world doesn't. You guys need to catch on to proper units. Okay, question from Paul. Would early universe gravitational wave signals be single blips or periodic repeating signals? I love this question. This is a very cool question. So if you've seen any of the LIGO-Virgo detections where you have smashing black holes, you get the well-known, the famous chirp. So what the chirp is this gravitational waves that are produced as the black holes come together. They start getting closer and closer and closer. Eventually they smash into each other. They release a huge amount of gravitational waves. And if you look at the shape of the gravitational waves in our detector, what you get is a waveform that increases, 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 and then drops off dramatically once they have collided. And if you match this onto a sound wave, what you get is a chirp. So you get the merge and you get a chirp. And there are a lot of videos out there that chirp, the chirps. These are what we found from black holes smashing together. The early universe gravitational waves, on the other hand, would be a constant background, more like a hum at the background of the universe. It just kind of a very, very, very quiet hum. It's not actually audible. This is something that is a gravitational wave, not a sound wave, but we can match it onto a sound wave to make it easier for us to understand it. And this would be a background hum everywhere in the universe. So it wouldn't be chirping, it wouldn't be blipping, it would just be a constant background. Now, of course, there's a lot of things that can produce this constant background. For an example, if you have thousands or billions of black holes smashing together within our galaxy, or white dwarfs smashing together within our galaxy, which is what we fully expect to have, this is also going to produce this background hum. So a big challenge if we want to measure these early universe gravitational waves is figuring out how we deal with things like the white dwarfs that are also producing this background hum, this background boom. We are basically trying to figure out how to listen to a whisper in a concert room. Imagine a dramatic concert going on and somebody's whispering the other side of the room. How do you listen to that whisper with everything else happening in front of it? And that is actually exactly what I'm working on, is figuring out how we can hear this background of early universe gravitational waves, given everything else happening on top of it. So that's a very cool question. Okay, question from Ben. What happens if the interference is 180 or 360 degrees? Wouldn't that resemble 0 degrees? I'm guessing you... What interference do you mean here? I'm guessing you mean when the laser beam comes back after it's been sent down the arms. If it comes back perfectly in sync, then you get no laser beam. Now, what's generally going to happen is you're going to get this laser beam blinking in and out of existence, because as the laser beam comes back, if the gravitational wave is traveling through, then this distance is going to be continuously changing. So that means as the laser beam comes back, because it's not just one photon, it's a beam of photons, you are going to get like these waves moving slightly out of sync. So they're traveling in different directions. So they're going to move slightly out of sync, and this is going to produce something that is not a continuous lack of signal. So no matter how much they're out of sync, even if they're a whole like phase out of sync, because not all of the photons are going to be exactly the same amount of out of sync, you would still get the signal. I hope I understood your question correctly. If not, do let me know. Okay. Glad you're feeling better. Thank you, David. Honestly, I'm actually not feeling that much better. So I got over my COVID effects, but I've actually had a long COVID flare up this week, and I've already found that I'm 26 minutes in and I'm completely exhausted. So there's a high chance I'm not going to do an hour stream today. So I am better from some of my results, but also from some of my symptoms, but also I do feel like I'm not 100%. So I do have long COVID, and some days that means I can't do an hour long stream. So we're going to see how we're going to do today, but I have noticed already that I'm feeling a lot more tired than I expected. So while I'm no longer coughing as much, I do have other symptoms flaring up today. So I am feeling overall better. Thank you for your comments, but still not feeling great today. Okay, let's carry on. Comment from Ben following up here. You're continuous measuring the amount of interference. Exactly, yes. You're continuously measuring the amount of interference, and therefore, even if they do come back in sync, because they've gone like a full period out of sync, if anything affected the distance while these laser beams are going back and forth, you will notice it when you put the experiments back together. Okay, second half of David's comment here. We have so many Davids in the audience here. Okay. Did you see the results of dark energy survey at AAS a few weeks ago? Yeah. So I'm going to talk about that next week. I think next week I'll actually discuss that in depth. It's quite interesting, but I think the main takeaway is nothing to be concerned about. It seems like they are very much in agreement with other experiments and other results. So I will talk about dark energy survey results at some point, but not today. Okay. So I think that's all of the comments so far. So short version, gravitational waves are amazing. It's something really, really cool that it's incredibly cool that they exist and that we can measure them. We measure gravitational waves with lasers bouncing back and forth down tunnels and mirrors. It's an amazing ingenuity feat. We've measured gravitational waves from Earth a few times, quite a few times, over 100 times now, coming from black holes smashing together and neutron stars smashing together. And if that wasn't cool enough, we are going to do the same from space. And the mission to measure gravitational waves from space is called LISA. And LISA has officially been approved by the European Space Agency this week. LISA is expected to launch in 2035, 2036. Anticipate a year or two of delays at least. Then it will take a couple of years of data processing and actually getting all the data. But within the next 20 years, we will probably have measurements of gravitational waves from space, which is incredibly cool. This is happening. This experiment is going to go ahead. We can start building it now. It's not like we can launch it tomorrow, but now we officially can start building LISA, which is amazing. So that's the very cool thing that happened this week. Something else that happened this week that I do want to talk about briefly. It is slightly less positive, but also I think an amazing achievement nonetheless. So back in 2020, NASA launched another rover to Mars called Perseverance. Got a lot of media hype. There was the whole Mars 2020. It became known as Percy. And it's another rover that's just doing his little job on Mars and got a lot of attention. And of course, we anthropomorphized it. We gave it a personality. It's a little rover on Mars. Something that was never done before that Perseverance did, and that NASA did with the launch of Perseverance, is they put a little baby helicopter together with Perseverance. A little baby helicopter is called Ingenuity. So Ingenuity was kind of, if you imagine the typical space rover, Ingenuity was kind of tapped to its belly. So there was the usual thing where they sent the satellite to Mars, it dropped the rover used a parachute to get down. Once Perseverance was safely on the surface of Mars back in February 2021, it kind of dropped its little helicopter friend and then rode off, and we had Ingenuity. Ingenuity is this little helicopter hitched a ride with Perseverance, and Ingenuity is the first time we have operated a flying vehicle on another planet. It's the first time we've achieved flight from another planet. So if you imagine there's this little tiny helicopter that can now fly up and down around Mars. Ingenuity had its first flight in April 2021. It's a helicopter that works in that thin atmosphere. Just to give you an idea, this is an actual photo of Perseverance and Ingenuity. You can see Perseverance, the rover, to the right. And if you look at where the tire marks are off to the left, kind of in the center of the screen, a bit to the top, you'll see the little baby helicopter. Tiny, tiny, tiny little thing. It's a helicopter designed to fly in Martian atmosphere, which is very, very cool when you think about it. This little baby helicopter can just fly on Mars. It was flown for the first time in April 2021, which is very, very, very cool. Now, Ingenuity was planned to have 5 flights. Ingenuity was supposed to fly 5 times in total. You missed the dates. Was Einstein alive when gravitational waves were detected? No. So gravitational waves were detected in gravitational waves were predicted by Einstein in 1916. They were first detected in 2016. 8 years ago already. Wow. Yes. Okay. So Ingenuity, tiny, tiny little helicopter designed to fly in Martian atmosphere. Big rotors, lighter payload, can fly. Okay, so Ingenuity was planned to fly 5 times. The idea is it was just a test if we could actually fly stuff on Mars, which might be useful if we have a future inhabitation there. Ingenuity has flown 72 times. The little helicopter that could. It was supposed to fly 5 times, 5 flights. But they realized they could actually keep flying it. You know, it was solar charged by solar panels. It was surviving. It was doing its job. So then Ingenuity became kind of a companion to Perseverance. Instead of just doing 5 basic test flights of seeing how much we can fly, Ingenuity has now it's done 72 flights. During this time, what it usually does is it flies up. It does a bit of reconnaissance. And then the people here on Earth know how to direct Perseverance away from obstacles, the best path to take, what route to take, because of course Ingenuity has a camera on it. So they can fly the helicopter, land it back to Perseverance and say they fly the helicopter to a new spot and then Perseverance chases after it. And they've been doing this since April 21. 72 flights out of the planned 5. It's amazing. And when it first launched, people were like, okay, this is kind of gimmicky. Yeah, we flew a helicopter on Mars. Well done. You know, it's cool, but well done. But the amount of science that Ingenuity has helped us do, it has helped Perseverance move in the right direction. It has given us a lot of aerial views. It's helped kind of scout out the map. Ingenuity stopped working this week. So it had a bit of a crash at some point, and one of the rotors is damaged to the point that it can no longer fly. So it's officially been retired from active duty. It has been retired from service. It's time for Ingenuity to sleep. But it's amazing. You know, it's not good news in the sense that Ingenuity is done. It's over. But it was planned to do 5 flights, and it did 72. This is 14 times more what it was supposed to do. This is amazing. They built this little tiny helicopter. They attached it to a rover. It hitched a ride. We threw this to Mars. It landed successfully. This whole thing was amazing. And then Perseverance is doing its job, bombing about on Mars, zipping about, taking data. And Ingenuity was flying around like, go there, look what I found. It's amazing. They nicknamed the rovers Ginny for Ingenuity and Percy for Perseverance, just because giving things cute names makes people like them more. So Ingenuity outperformed beyond any expectations we had. We were expecting 5 missions, 5 flights from it. We got 72. This is an incredible achievement. So even though Ingenuity has now shut down and Ingenuity will not fly again, it is an incredible achievement to think how much it did beyond expectations, beyond being just a gimmicky thing we flew on Mars, which is still cool. It actually outperformed anything we could have hoped for. I think this is amazing because it really shows that when people build these spacecrafts, these missions, so much thought, so much effort goes into getting everything right. And people are always conservative, like best case scenario, it's going to do this. But they were the engineers involved, the team involved, they did such a good job on this that it flew 72 times when it was planned to fly for 5. This is similar to how Opportunity performed. Opportunity is one of the 2 rovers that was there before. There were 2 together, Spirit and Opportunity. Those were the previous ones before Perseverance. Was there one in between? Was there one in between Spirit, Opportunity, and Perseverance? Maybe. But in any case, Spirit and Opportunity were there years ago. They were also planned for short missions. Opportunity lasted about 3 years, is one of these rovers, and Opportunity lasted 3 years more than what it was supposed to last. And it just kept doing missions, and people were like, well, it still works, let's keep using it, why not? And it outperformed beyond expectations again. Opportunity did amazing things, and now Ingenuity has carried on this idea. Ingenuity was supposed to fly 5 times and then just sit down, okay, flew 72 times over 3 years. What was supposed to be a 1-month mission turned into a 3-year mission. This is amazing. And this for me is just such a, it's called Ingenuity, and I think the name is well deserved. And the little rover is called Perseverance. And again, it's a well deserved name because Perseverance, Ingenuity is what it took to get these two there, to get these two to Mars, to get them to work so well for so long. So we no longer have data from Ingenuity. It's officially finished. But if we think how far it's come and what it's given us, it's just amazing to me to think about everything we got with Ingenuity. So I've seen quite a few scientists very sad that we lost Ingenuity, and I agree. It's sad. We knew eventually this day would come. We thought this day would come in May 2021, a month after its first flight. The fact that it is taken until now, and it's not an issue of running out of fuel because it was completely solar powered. It's just, okay, its rotor broke, and we can't really send someone out to fix it. But I really think it's just really shows space missions are not easy. We know, it's not rocket science. It literally is. It's rocket science. It's difficult. Getting things to Mars is ridiculously difficult. Getting things to Mars that then work perfectly, and not only perfectly, but better than we could ever have dreamt for. It's incredible. And, I think it's amazing just how much effort people put into Ingenuity and Perseverance, and just how well it performed. It's really cool to think about how well it performed. So, do you think they were deliberately conservative when estimating how long they will last? I think to some degree there is a bit of underestimation going on there, where people are like, okay, let's not overpromise. There's a phrase I've heard recently a few times, which is under-promise, over-deliver. And, I think in some regard, yes, but also they're kind of realistic. Like, okay, if things work out, we expect 1 or 2 issues, 5 flights is what we've got. And it did so much more than that. And then they found uses for it, and they found reasons to keep it going. So I do think they were deliberately conservative, but I don't think anyone on the team ever expected it to do this well. Even if they'd been conservative and they expected maybe 10 missions at most, and they said 5, I don't think anyone expected 72 missions, 72 flights from this baby helicopter. I think even if they had been conservative, even the people working on this, nobody expected it to do so well. But that's amazing. This is really cool. It's really cool. And someday maybe we'll send humans to Mars, and then they can go and pick up Ingenuity and bring it back to Earth and put it in a museum somewhere. I'm sure that's going to happen at some point. So an Opportunity and all the other ones we've left scattered about on Mars, I'm sure they're going to come home someday. And I think it's really cool to think of what Ingenuity has done and what Ingenuity has given us. And it makes me optimistic, right? Because the news came on the same day. So on the same day, we got the news that Ingenuity is no longer going to fly. LISA has been adopted. This to me is like, okay, Ingenuity is no longer going to fly, but it shows us that we can do these things. And we are still doing them, and we are still thinking ahead. We are still planning the next space mission. We are still planning LISA, and we're going to use everything we've learned and put it into the next space mission. And that to me is very, very cool. Obviously, different space agencies. Ingenuity is NASA. LISA is European Space Agency. But still, the knowledge we have, every space mission, failure or success, paves the way for the next ones. Ingenuity doing well bodes well for the next space mission, and the one after that, and the one after that. And in 20 years, 15 years, we'll be talking about LISA. The day LISA launches, I will be an absolute wreck. Do not look for me the day LISA launches. I will be hiding under a blanket watching the launch, very scared. I'm not going to live stream it. But yeah, that's now something. It's not going to be like if LISA launches, it's now when LISA launches. So that's pretty cool. That is very, very cool. There's a comment here of next challenge, a baby helicopter that can fly on Venus. Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot harder to achieve. Venus has a much more complicated atmosphere, so I think flying on Venus is a challenge that we're not quite ready to do just yet, but maybe someday. The problem with Venus is it's just very, very, very hot, and anything we sent there has not lasted long enough to do something. Maybe go see the launch live. It is very tempting to go watch the LISA launch live. I'll see when I'm there. It should be 10, 20, 10, 15 years from now. We'll see. Maybe I get to go watch LISA launch live. That would be very cool. We'll see. We'll see. If I can go there, I will. But in any case, I will be an absolutely nervous wreck. Like already when I watch a spacecraft launch that I'm not involved in, I'm a nervous wreck. But Euclid, by the time it launches, if I'm still working in physics, by the time it launches, I will have spent over 10 years of my life working on LISA. There are going to be people who have spent 40 years working on it by the time it launches. It's going to be amazing. And now it's not a question of if, it's a question of when it is going to launch. So, yeah, it's been a good week for spacecrafts. LISA has officially been adopted, and Ingenuity is finally resting after outperforming everything we ever asked it to do. So Ingenuity did, I'm not seeing it as a sad end for Ingenuity. I'm seeing it as a proof of just how much that little helicopter did. Ingenuity is gone. LISA is going to happen. It is amazing. Hey, David Dunn, great to see you as well. If anyone doesn't follow David Dunn over on Twitch, you want to. David Dunn has an astronomy show on Saturdays. Probably also covered Ingenuity, or will talk about Ingenuity as well. Also, I'm not sure if I have the stream on YouTube, but back in 2020, once Perseverance landed on Mars, I actually did a whole stream just about Perseverance and Ingenuity. It was back in the HAPS days. Somehow the HAPS days were already 4 years ago by now, almost 4 years ago, I think. But in any case, I'm not sure if my Mars 2020 stream made it to YouTube or if I just like lost that one somewhere. So in any case, if it's not on YouTube, is it on YouTube? I'm curious now if my Mars 2021 was one of the ones I uploaded to YouTube. Somewhere I have a file with a long list of all the streams I've ever done, or all the streams I've done in the last 4 years and their topic, and whether they're on YouTube or not. But I do not remember where that list is, and I today. So bear with me for 1 sec. I'm just checking my own YouTube channel to figure out what videos I have on my own YouTube channel, which is, you know, a good thing to be aware of what videos I have up on different places. Is Mars 2020 there? Let me see. Mars 2020 is on YouTube. Okay, well, that makes it easier because I can copy the link. So let me just open this and pause it because it's immediately going to start playing audio. Okay, so I do actually have the link where I discuss why Perseverance is amazing and Ingenuity and all of the cool things that happen there. And also just looking through the thumbnails, apparently at some point I also discussed the CMB because of course I did. Okay, so I'm just posting the link here. Perseverance landed almost 3 years ago, but I did upload the video to YouTube. So you should all see the link here. I'll also post it at some point if you watch that video. Please don't go now, like, you know, stay here. But later you can watch this video. I'm just posting the link to Twitch as well. If you want more details about how we got Perseverance to Mars. And there I talk about how Ingenuity is going to fly 5 times and, you know, we'll see what happens. And now here I am 3 years later saying like, ha, it's actually flown 72 times. So that's kind of cool. You have the link, whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, the link is now in the comments. So you can definitely go watch me get super excited about landing on Mars. And now 3 years later, you can see me getting excited about how long these missions have lasted. Perseverance is still ongoing. Perseverance is going to be around for a while. So that's still doing its job. And Ingenuity did more than we expected it to do. So that's also very cool. Is there much variance in lag time in communication between the actual distance of Mars and Earth during both their absolute distance and their respective orbits? I'm not sure. So there is a lag when communicating. I had longer hair, yeah, in that video my hair was like down here. Yeah, my hair changes very frequently in length, in color. So there is definitely a lag because light travels at a finite speed. It takes a while for light, for electromagnetic waves, for radio waves to get from here to Mars and then back. So any communication with the satellites, with the probes, with the rovers, there is this substantial lag. I forgot my T and now it's called. So there is this substantial lag, and this is going to depend on the distance. So when Mars is further away, it's going to take a bit longer. There's going to be more of a lag. So we know that as Mars and Earth orbit around the sun, they're not in sync. So sometimes Mars is like the other side of the sun from where we are, and sometimes it's quite close. So there is going to be quite a lag, quite a difference in the lag. When Mars is further away, there's going to be a much bigger lag. When Mars is closer, the lag is going to go down considerably. So, yes, there definitely is a lag between Earth and Mars, and this depends on the distance. So, when Mars is further away from us, there is going to be a substantially bigger lag. That is unfortunately the way it goes. It's also something that makes it even more amazing because once the satellite gets to Mars and kind of drops the rover, we enter what is known as the 7 minutes of hell. 7 minutes of burning hell, where the rover has to get through the Martian atmosphere and put itself on the surface without crashing. It's got to deploy, it's got to go through the atmosphere, get rid of its heat shield, open a parachute, and gracefully glide down to the surface and then release the parachute and just drop. This whole process lasts 7 minutes. During this time, there is no communication with the rover because the lag is longer than 7 minutes. So when you see it on Earth and you watch people and they're like, okay, we enter the 7 minutes of hell, the rover might already have crashed. It might already be, it's just like we're now receiving the information. So this whole descent and parking itself on the planet that Perseverance did was completely unguided. Like you cannot offer backup, you cannot offer support. You said the scientists at NASA send the commands like, here's what you're going to do. Let me know if it goes well. And that's it. There's no correction. There's no, oh, fuck, we can tune something. We made a mistake. Let's fix it. No. You send the commands, you sit back, and you wait for 7 minutes. And then at some point, you're like, oh, look, we got the signal. It landed. 7 minutes, the Sarah survived. Which is amazing when you think about it. You know, we often have the idea that if something goes wrong, you can just correct for it. Not in this case. Because of the lag, it is so far away that, you know, you just send the commands and you hope for the best. And then you're like, oh, okay, no communication, autonomous landing, what's going to happen? And it's amazing. And I remember when I was following the Perseverance landing live, you know, as live as we can. And there was just the silence of everyone in the room waiting, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, are we going to? And then you get the blip of like signal received, mission successfully, it has landed, and everyone's just like, oh, wow, I can breathe again now. So yeah, that is one of the bad things and the fun things about operating vehicles on other planets or on far away in our universe or in the solar system, is that we can't send information back and forth. There was also a very fun thing recently. Fun. There was a thing recently in July. Euclid launched. Euclid is a mission that is looking for dark matter and dark energy. I can't believe it's already been 6 months since Euclid launched. Wow. Euclid is an amazing satellite European Space Agency mission that is looking for dark matter and dark energy in the universe. It has been years in the making, 20, 30 years in the making. And Euclid launched on the 7th of July, and everything went perfectly. It launched in the first minute of the first possible launch window. It was a smooth launch. It was really, really cool. Everything was smooth. And then they turned on Euclid and everything was working well, except it had pointed itself in the wrong direction. So there was a star that was supposed to be the guiding star, and it couldn't get a lock on it, which meant Euclid for a few days seemed to be pointing in the wrong direction, which is not what you want to happen with a mission that has been years in the making and it's up there in space. You're not getting to it. You're not going to go and fix it. You know, there's nothing you can do. It either works or it doesn't. So yeah, it looked like Euclid was pointing the wrong way, which, you know, was not nice. But they were actually able to send a command to it. So by the time they got the information that it was pointing the wrong way, there was this lag. And then they sent back the command, and eventually Euclid was able to correct itself. And now everything's working well. It's fine. But this was also one of those moments of like, is everything okay? We can't send someone up to fix this. So Euclid is fine for now. But there were a few scary days where we were like, Euclid, hi, are you okay? It's fine. It is very much fine. That's okay. But yeah, for a while there was a bit of a concern with Euclid. So this is always a problem, that there is this lag between getting information and all of this. So yeah, it's space flight is difficult. Flying such other planets is difficult. It's something that takes a while, and yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There was also this two things launched recently, one that was supposed to go to the moon and didn't, and one that was supposed to go to the moon and did, but then fell on its side. So yeah, that's fun. One of them blew up. It didn't blow up, but then had like a controlled re-entry, which meant it burnt up in the atmosphere. And Japan's moon sniper made it to the moon, and then instead of landing like that, landed and then tilted onto its nose. They're still trying to figure out what to do, because given that it tilted onto its nose, it's going to be quite hard to get any charge in the solar panels. Spaceflight is difficult. Space missions are difficult. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Everything teaches us more so that we can do better the next time. But yeah, it is not easy. I guess if it was easy, there wouldn't be the jokes about rocket science. So spaceflight is not easy, but it's worth doing. Ingenuity proves it again that it is worth doing. And 20 years from now, I'll be tuning in to tell you about the data from LISA, which is very, very cool. So it is nice. Spaceflight is cool. It is not easy, but it is very fun. Okay, let me go through the questions here. I see there's a couple of long questions from Laurette, so I'm just going to try to go through them. I just see the last one here, that you're a biologist and you're ignorant for a lot of space engineering. You never need to apologize for your questions on this stream. There is one rule. There are 3 rules on the stream, but one of them is that this is a judgment-free zone. You can ask literally anything, regardless of your background. I don't expect you all to know a lot of stuff about anything. You know, I come here for whatever your background is, whatever your previous knowledge is, it doesn't matter. This is a place to ask your questions without judgment, without feeling bad about them, because we are all here to learn together. So please never apologize for your questions. It's perfectly fine to ask questions and learn, and this is what we're here for. This is the point of this show. Now let me actually read your questions. Would it be possible to at least have some autonomous correction of stuff like trajectory and landing angles in a sort of Voyager satellite near Mars? Or even a geostationary satellite orbiting Mars to give more refined and faster feedback to at least a rover? Yeah, so the problem is there's always going to be, so you can automate things, but at any point you need any type of human intervention, you are going to have to deal with this lag. So we automated the whole landing process, right? This is how we actually managed to land Perseverance. I say we, again, I was not in any way involved in any of these missions. But, well, yeah, I am involved in LISA, but I'm not involved in any way in the Mars missions. But it is automated. You can use satellites. We have a few satellites around Mars, and you can use those to relay information. And this is actually used sometimes if you're, when Mars is rotating, like imagine you put your rover here, and then Mars rotates, and suddenly the rover is on like the opposite side of the planet. That makes it a bit harder for us to get the information. And then what you can often do is transmit this to one of the satellites that we've put in orbit around Mars, and that can transmit it to us. So we have done this. There are these satellites that help relay information, but it doesn't help if you need any human intervention, because there is still going to be the problem that it's, by the time you figured out that you require human intervention, it might be too late. If it's something like with Euclid, okay, you point it back in that direction, that was still okay. But if it's something time sensitive, like we are dropping a rover at high speed into a planet and hoping it doesn't burn up in the atmosphere, by the time you figure out something's gone wrong, it's too late to send a command to fix it. And nothing we can do is going to fix that unless we have someone close by who can intervene. But that's not how it works. Mars is far away. We don't have anyone close by. So yeah, put humans on Mars. Well, part of the plan of these rovers is to figure out how we can do that and how we should do that. On that note, I do want to make a comment. I'm all for space exploration. I think it's amazing that we're sending rovers, that we're doing these missions. I think before we're ready to send humans to any other planets, there should be a very careful conversation about the ethics and how things are done. And I don't think this is something that should be put, for an example, in the hands of one billionaire. I think this is something that requires a lot of oversight and a lot of careful coordination. And we always talk about colonizing Mars, and that in itself, to me, is a red flag, because colonization is not the aim. Colonization is not the target, right? We should be very aware of what we're doing, what we're potentially destroying, what we're bringing with us. And I think before we send humans to Mars, which of course is a goal and something that I hope we do someday, I just hope we do it in an ethical way and in a way where we're aware that Mars is not ours to conquer. Mars is not our new playground. It's something that is an object, a body in the solar system, and it is something that we should approach in a respectful manner. And I think often this topic comes up in terms of future missions and like, okay, this is very far away. We don't need to worry about this yet. But I don't think that is true. There was a mission. I'm trying to figure out, I can't remember who was launching it, but there was a mission that launched a few dayou ago, or a week or so ago, to go to the moon. This was launched by a private company, but NASA had paid to put like 5 little instruments on it. On board this spacecraft that was going to land on the moon were human ashes from 5 people whose family had paid a ridiculous amount of money to have their ashes taken up to space. Okay, so is this ethical in any way? Maybe, maybe not. Who gets to decide? Now, here's the other perspective. You might think, yeah, sure, if they have money to send their ashes to the moon, why not let them do that? The moon is considered sacred to many people. For example, to many Indigenous Americans, the moon is sacred. The moon is something that has special meaning. It's a sacred place. It's not a place where we should just wantonly throw the ashes of people who have paid money to go there without a careful debate. And there was this debate recently. In the end, it didn't become an issue because the spacecraft did not reach the moon and then burnt up in the atmosphere. So guess where those ashes are now? They burnt up in the atmosphere. But this is something that I think we always think about the ethics of colonization as a future thing. The ethics of space flight is like, we'll deal with that when we're at the stage of sending humans to Mars. But what about the issues that arise now? Who has the right to say what goes to the moon, what doesn't go to the moon? Can a group of humans say, like, okay, we're going to put ashes on the moon now without consulting? Like, who does the moon belong to? It doesn't belong to one group of people. It belongs to, like, literally nobody. But I think this is something that is really interesting to think about. I don't have answers. I don't have a correct way of doing it. But I think this also reminds me why it's important to have many, many different voices and diversity in science, because sometimes there's a perspective that you might not even know you're missing because you don't have people in the room to raise that perspective. I hadn't considered the possible downsides or upsides of sending human ashes to the moon. It had never even occurred to me until I saw this debate recently of people like, I really hope we don't do this. And then we tried to do it anyway, and it didn't work out. So when we think about colonizing space, sending humans to Mars, sure, I'm all for it. But I really think the ethical questions, the Peregrine mission, thank you. Yes, that's what it's called. I was trying to think like Pero something, and I was stuck on Perseverance. The Peregrine mission is this one that was trying to go to the moon and didn't make it. So I think there's an international agreement that no one can lay claim to any astronomical body. Exactly. So then if no one can lay claim to it, are you allowed to put ashes there? Can you scatter ashes in public places? Are you allowed to scatter remains on the moon? It's a very interesting question, and it's one that I think the time to answer this is now. It's not 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when we're sending the first humans to Mars. The time to address these questions is now. And I think that is something that we really should be aware of, that it's not like do the science and the ethics comes later. This is how you end up with Jurassic Park scenarios. Obviously, I'm not saying we should put dinosaurs on the moon. But yeah, I think it's very interesting to think about this. And even when we send all of these robots to Mars, there is always careful consideration. But I think it's important to ask, have we considered all of the necessary perspectives when we're doing these space flights? And often the answer is no. So I don't have solutions. I don't have answers. I just think science and the ethics of the science should go hand in hand, not progress and ethics will catch up later. And we could have a similar discussion with the ethics of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And right now, we're very much in the stage where people are using machine learning and artificial intelligence for everything without considering the ethical implication. I'm not going to go in a whole rant about artificial intelligence and machine learning. I think most people here know my opinion on this already. But it's interesting that this conversation has now come to the press a lot quicker like this conversation. People have been creating deep fakes for years. Deep fakes is where you use artificial intelligence or these kind of learning systems to create an image of somebody not being a real image. So you create a likeness of a person. This is extremely problematic. And now it's in the news because some people have created some extremely problematic deep fakes of Taylor Swift, which is completely unethical. But it's taken something like this for people to now be like, should we be doing this? And I think it's always the case that as technology progresses, as science progresses, the ethics are often overlooked, and that is absolutely not how we should do things. Anyway, whole rant aside, I just ranted for 10 minutes about ethics of science. Take what you want from this conversation. You know, I'm not speaking with any voice of authority here. This is just my own thoughts on how we should handle things. And I do generally hope that as we progress and as we spread out throughout the universe, exploring and sending missions, I just hope we do it without losing something unique to humans. So yes, humans are territorial, so over time there will be no political options for no claim. When somebody builds a defense system that attack nearby space objects, yeah, this is exactly the thing, right? We shouldn't wait for that to happen. We should make the ethics and the laws, we should have these conversations now, not in 10 years. Okay, so two main things today. Ingenuity, an amazing little helicopter that could flew 72 flights out of its planned 5. Absolutely amazing. Ingenuity mission is now officially over. No more helicopter flights from little baby Ingenuity. It can finally sleep. But it did very much outperform. And the incredible news that we got on Thursday that I had to tell you all about, LISA has been approved. LISA has been approved, and it is going to fly 10 years from now, 15 years from now. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take. It is going to happen. And that is amazing. That is really amazing. And I'm part of the LISA consortium, and the hype, the expectation, the emails going around congratulating people, the feeling of like, we're in the new stage, you know, we're no longer at the planning stage. We're actually now at the building phase of LISA. That is very, very cool. So yeah, space flight is cool. Space missions are cool. And there's a lot of things to consider before launching stuff to space. But it is really, really fun. Okay, I said I wouldn't stay on for an hour because I definitely am feeling a long COVID flare-up, but we managed an hour because I got excited talking about stuff. As always, it's been really, really fun to chat to everybody. You've had some really cool questions, some really cool comments. Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's always great fun. Cup of Cosmology should be online same time next weekend. I believe I don't have anything, so it's same time next weekend. That's 7 p.m. if you're in Europe, 1 p.m. if you're on the east coast of the US, 10 a.m. if you're on the west coast of the US. There's a time zone converter on cupofcosmology.com where you can figure out when the next stream is in your own time zone. Also, if you follow me on Twitch, there's an official scheduler where all the streams are listed. Now, the comments. If you can't wait until Sunday to hear me talk about cool stuff, I'm not ill, like actively done. I have chronic illness, I have long COVID, and sometimes I get flare-ups. Today is one of those days. Some days the flare-ups are more manageable than other days. So I'm not actually like ill, but I have a chronic illness, if that makes sense. So if you can't wait until next Sunday to see me talking about more outreach, you can catch me on Friday evening. So I will be giving a talk for the iTelescope Network. The iTelescope Network is this group of telescopes that you can operate. You can like join and operate a telescope the other side of the world through the iTelescope collaboration. It's very, very cool. And they have weekly or almost weekly science streams where scientists like myself come and talk for an hour and then do about half an hour of Q&A afterwards. I have given 3 talks on the iTelescope Network. They've all been incredibly fun. It is open to everybody. If you Google or whatever search engine you like, search for iTelescope webinars, you will find it. And there you will find a link to the one next Friday, which is going to be mine. Next iTelescope one is probably going to be 1 hour of me talking about my favorite thing, the cosmic microwave background radiation. So if you can't wait until Sunday, join me on Friday on the iTelescope webinar to hear everything you didn't already know about the cosmic microwave background radiation. And I have 1 hour. There is so much CMB stuff I can throw at you. So yeah, it's been a year since my last one for the iTelescope Network, so it's overdue. Next Friday, I will share the details on my Mastodon at DCHooper91_Cosmo at astrodon.social. feel free to follow me there. But if not, just search for iTelescope webinars and you will find it. And you can register, pre-register for Zoom. It's free. You just need to pre-register just so they know how many people are turning up. Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Paul. I actually cannot remember what time it is, so it's good that you just wrote that there because it's in my calendar, and I'm sure I'll be aware of when it is, when it comes close to it, but at some point Friday. So 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Trust Paul there. I believe that's an accurate time. Sounds about right. So same time by stream, sorry. And then Cup of Cosmology will be back online Sunday next week. I hope to see you all again then. And I hope in the meantime, you will stay safe and take care of each other.